Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. Now today we're going to be talking about Google I/O. And Google I/O is basically a yearly held developer conference by Google. And they basically introduce new things such as their new hardware for their Pixel lineup, as well as new software and things that they've been working on to improve for developers. This is similar to Apple's WWDC, which is coming later in June, and basically where Apple announces, the new iOS releases, telling the world and developers some of the things that they've been working on, but this is Google's version of that. So I wanted to talk about this particularly because there are some cool releases on the hardware front, but especially on the software front. And because this year has been a huge year for AI, particularly Microsoft has been making a lot of advances in AI with Bing Search, Bing Chat AI, and a lot of improvements to Copilot for Microsoft Office. So Google honestly had the world's eyes on it as it came into this developer conference, and it really had to impress with a lot of AI features. So let's talk about that. And they really did have a lot of things in store, and let's get started. So the first thing I'm gonna just get out of the way is some of the hardware stuff. And I do want to talk about hardware because there were some interesting announcements from Google about it, and I have some thoughts on it. And one of the first things that they released was, well, they released three new devices: the Pixel 7a, the Pixel Fold, and they have a spelling mistake on these two things, or is that intentional? I don't know. The Pixel Fold and the Pixel Tablet. And the first one is the Pixel 7a, which is their A series lineup, is basically just a cheaper phone of their flagship, which is the Pixel 7. And it basically just is, they cut some corners in the phone to make it cheaper, such as this one is plastic backed. It has, slightly less specs than the bigger than the flagship version, Pixel 7, but it shares the same chip as the flagship phone, and it has a similar design, and it honestly has pretty good cameras. So I'm going to defer to a lot of other reviewers who actually get their hands on these phones to talk about it, but this is basically just a cheaper phone in their Pixel lineup. The more interesting phone is the Pixel Fold, and it's basically Google's first foldable. It is similar to the Samsung Galaxy Fold and or Z Fold, and it is one of those that folds out from a phone form factor into a tablet. Now, personally, as a person who has a foldable device, I don't prefer this form factor. I'd rather it fold like a flip phone, so your normal phone becomes smaller. And I think a lot of people, real world people who use these devices, end up just using the front screen of the folding device rather than flipping it open into a tablet, because the screen is an awkward dimension. So even though it is a bigger screen, you will have huge black bars on top and then the bottom when you're consuming content, because it's more of a square than a rectangle. And second of all, it's just more of a hassle. It's a hassle to hold a tablet out in public. Like when I use my iPad, it's usually on my on the table if I'm drawing or something like that. So it is slightly more annoying in my opinion. So I'd rather something that folds smaller than something that folds larger. But the cool thing about this product is it is one of the thinnest folding phones out there. It actually folds completely shut apparently. Whereas Samsung phones usually has a little bit of gap where dust and debris can get in. And also there are very good cameras. Obviously the Pixel lineup always has decent cameras, but with great software. And they also have features like interpreted mode, which basically does live translation and it shows it on both screens. And I think this is something that would be cool to for all foldable phones. And but honestly, this feature is probably not worth the price tag, which is $1,799. And that is the price of a pretty decent laptop. Like you can get a good MacBook, you can definitely get a really good Windows laptop. You can definitely get a iPad, even the iPad Pro's $1,000. So this is definitely a device for those who are interested in adopting foldable tech, whereas for me, it's just not there yet. But then the other product that Google announced, the Google Pixel tablet, is something more interesting. Now, this is something that I've wanted for a long time, which is basically a tablet that can dock into like a Google Home. And basically, when you buy this tablet, it does come with the speaker dock. So when you're not using the tablet, you can dock it back onto the speaker, and it'll become like a Google Home device, like a Google Home Mini, or this is more similar to the Google Home Hub. And basically, when you want to use it, you can take it off the stand and use it just as any other regular tablet. And it also has the Tensor G2 chip in it. And I think this is a pretty cool idea. In fact, this is much cheaper than the foldable. It is only $499 and it includes that speaker stand. So I think it's a decent deal for those who are interested in getting a tablet and don't want to get an iPad. But currently, I still need to look for other reviewers' opinions on the usability and how good it is and how it stacks up to the iPad, because I think iPad still is ahead as of this moment against Android in terms of software. iOS is just much nicer. And number two is power. The Tensor G2 chip is pretty decent, but it is a mobile phone chip. And the iPad has the M2 chip in it, which is a laptop chip. So it's definitely not something that probably can go against the iPad right now, but also it is not hitting the iPad Pro's price point. It is closer to the iPad Air. So it is something to consider, especially if you're interested in getting something like a Google Home with it. So with that concludes the hardware segment and some of my thoughts on it. Basically, Fold is cool but very expensive. The tablet is pretty cool, and the 7A is just a new, cheaper phone. Now let's jump into AI, and this section is going to be talking about some of the interesting things that they've been including in their products with AI. So this is existing products, they've just improved upon it, and the first one is Help Me Write in Gmail.
Now with a much more powerful generative model, we are taking the next step in Gmail with Help Me Write. Let's say you got this email that your flight was canceled. The airline has sent a voucher, but what you really want is a full refund. You could reply and use Help Me Write. Just type in the prompt of what you want, an email to ask for a full refund, hit create, and a full draft appears. As you can see, it conveniently pulled in flight details from the previous email. And it looks pretty close to what you want to send. Maybe you want to refine it further. In this case, a more elaborate...
So yeah, basically this is an iteration upon Gmail's Smart Reply. And basically, if you've been using Gmail, you probably have noticed that a lot of times when you get an email, it has like 3 responses, quick reply responses, like that sounds cool, I agree, or no, I can't make it, things like that. And also an iteration upon Smart Compose, which is Gmail's, to write, help you write a letter. It will just suggest some words that you might want to type. And this is the next iteration. So basically, a lot of people have been making ChatGPT extensions for using ChatGPT to write email. Google's just going to include it directly with their AI models. And the next thing that's also cool is something to do with maps.
That's a lot of trips. Imagine if you could see your whole trip in advance. With immersive view for routes, now you can. whether you're walking, cycling, or driving. Let me show you what I mean.
Okay, so basically, this feature is called Immersive View for Maps, and here's an example of that.
And I want to get a feel for it first. Click on Immersive View for Routes, and it's an entirely new way to look at my journey. I can zoom in to get an incredible bird's eye view of the ride. And as we turn, we get onto a great bike path. It looks like it's going to be a beautiful ride. You can also check today's air quality. Looks like AQI is 43, pretty good. And if I want to check traffic and weather and see how they might change over the next few hours, I can do that. Looks like it's going to pour later, so maybe I want to get going now. Immersive View for Routes will begin to roll out over the summer and launch in 15 cities by the end of the year, including London, New York, Tokyo, and San Francisco.
So there it is. That's Immersive View for Maps. And I think that's a pretty cool feature. And this is using AI, generative AI. They have some data from satellites of images of the buildings, and they're using that and other street view information and generating fly through of the route. And that's pretty cool. And I think this is something that is really nice because a lot of times when you don't know where you're going, particularly especially on a bike ride, because you don't want to always have your phone out and be looking at your phone. You want to enjoy the scenery. You can do like a quick run through of what your route's going to look like, and then you would know how it looks like. And I think Apple Maps is probably going to introduce something similar. They've already been doing a lot of these city-wide, a lot of look around features and city exploration. So we'll see if Apple also does this feature. Now, the next feature that I want to talk about that Google also introduced AI to is an iteration upon Magic Eraser. Now, in Google Photos, you can use this thing called a Magic Eraser, and you can erase certain parts of the image, particularly like strangers. If you have strangers in your photo and you want to take them out, it will use AI to sort of figure out what should go there, what's in the background, and just erase them from the photos. And this is an iteration on that feature, and this is Magic Editor. So let's take a look at that as well.
A new experience called Magic Editor. Let's have a look. Say you're on a hike and you stop to take a photo in front of a waterfall. You wish you had taken your bag off for the photo, so let's go ahead and remove that bag strap. The photo feels a bit dark, so you can improve the lighting. And maybe you want to even get rid of some clouds to make it feel as sunny as you remember it. Looking even closer, you wish you had posed so it looks like you're really catching the water in your hand. No problem. You can adjust that.
So just a quick pause. Basically, you can already erase things like your bag strap, and now you can move people around in the image and change the sky, which is pretty cool, especially for those who want to have a perfect photo that they want to take. Now, obviously, people will probably argue that this is not real photo, and yeah, it's not a real photo. It's going to use AI to generate things, but the idea of photos, especially consumer photos, is to capture that memory. So I think it is, as long as people are transparent about it and saying, hey, we did some edits with AI with it, it's perfectly fine to create that memory, because honestly, that's probably how you saw that day or how you think you see that day in your memory. So it'd be nice to be able to do some of these edits.
There you go. Let's look at one more photo. This is a great photo, but as a parent, you always want your kid at the center of it all. And it looks like the balloons got cut off in this one. So you can go ahead and reposition the birthday boy. Magic Editor automatically recreates parts of the bench and balloons that were not captured in the original shot. As a finishing touch, you can punch up the sky. It changes the lighting in the rest of the photo so the edit feels consistent. It's truly magical. We are excited to roll out Magic Editor in Google Photos later this year.
So yeah, that's Magic Editor, and as you can see, you can even move person with balloons, your child with balloons, and it will generate more balloons. And I think that's really interesting because it's not only just generating background, it is now getting context about what's in the scene and creating something that honestly looks really, really good and really, really real. So I'm excited to use this in Google Photos later this year as it releases, and I might even talk more about it when I get my hands on it. The next thing that Google announced, obviously they touched on, is AI model, specifically the next generation of their Palm model, which is currently what powers Bard and a lot of the other Google AI experiences.
We are ready to announce our latest Palm model in production, Palm 2. Palm 2 builds on our fundamental research and our latest infrastructure. It's highly capable at a wide range of tasks and easy to deploy. We are announcing over 25 products and features powered by Palm 2 today. Palm 2 models deliver excellent foundational capabilities across a wide range of sizes. We have affectionately named them Gecko, Otter, Bison, and Unicorn. Gecko is so lightweight that it can work on mobile devices, fast enough for great interactive applications on device, even when offline.
Now, yeah, that's pretty cool. Palm is basically kind of like GPT-3 or GPT-4, and it's basically now Google is working on the second generation of it, and it's getting even better, and they even have a version that works offline on device, and that's a really big deal, and I think Apple needs to take note of this, and they might need to work on a model or get other people's models, like maybe not GPT because that's closed source, but like open source language models like Facebook Llama running on Apple devices natively, because this is going to power the next generation of apps. If it's able to work offline and be so lightweight, and it can so like these models are great for generation, summarization, and things like that. It would be very helpful for a lot of applications to instantly get access to a pretty powerful model, and that runs locally, and you don't even need to be connected to the internet, and it would just run fast. So that's pretty cool. And another thing that's cool about Palm 2 is its fine-tuning capabilities. So if you don't know what fine-tuning is, it's basically when you have a model, you can sort of train it to learn something specific, kind of like going to college and getting a degree in something specific. So basically, you will give it a lot of data and knowledge in a field, and it will learn, and it'll become really, really good at it. And here are some of the examples that they did with Palm 2.
While Palm 2 is highly capable, it really shines when fine-tuned on domain-specific knowledge. We recently released SecPalm, a version of Palm 2 fine-tuned for security use cases. It uses AI to better detect malicious scripts and can help security experts understand and resolve threats. Another example is MedPalm 2. In this case, it's fine-tuned on medical knowledge. This fine-tuning achieved a 9x reduction in inaccurate reasoning when compared to the model, approaching the performance of clinician experts who answered the same set of questions. In fact, MedPalm 2 was the first language model to perform at expert level on medical licensing exam-style questions and is currently the state of the art. We are also working to add capabilities to MedPalm 2 so that it can synthesize information from medical imaging, like plain films and mammograms. You can imagine an AI collaborator that helps radiologists interpret images and communicate the results. These are some examples of Palm 2 being used in specialized domains. We can't wait to see it used in more.
So yeah, basically they fine-tuned it in the domains, basically gave it a college or university degree in security, and in medicine. And it's pretty cool that it's able to be state of the art, so they claim. Probably hope, I don't know if it's better than GPT-4, but supposedly it's better than GPT-4. So it's really interesting that you're able to fine tune this, and now all of a sudden you have a doctor bot. And I think a lot of the things that Google says is that these things, they are generative AI, so they still do make mistakes. But when you fine tune it, they get much, much better. And in fact, it is on an expert level. And I think all of these AI tools right now, they're used to be helpful tools. And as you can see, they said the radiologist can then chat with this bot and figure out what's wrong with the x-ray and what's wrong with the person. And basically, it's supposed to help that doctor make better decisions. And so, while I don't think it will become a doctor in for probably a while, especially those who do physical surgery and things like that, but I think this will be a very good enhancement to it's simple questions that we might have. Do I have a flu or a cold? And also help doctors be more accurate and provide better care to the patient. And that's pretty cool. And the last thing that they announced in regards to their models in their introduction section is a new model that they're still training. And let me let the CEO of Google talk about it.
Next generation foundation model, Gemini, which is still in training. Gemini was created from the ground up to be multimodal, highly efficient at tool and API integrations, and built to enable future innovations like memory and planning. While still early, we are already seeing impressive multimodal capabilities not seen in prior models. Once fine-tuned and rigorously tested for safety, Gemini will be available at various sizes and capabilities, just like Palm 2. As we invest in more...
So yeah, that is the new model, and it's going to be multimodal, and you will see their graphics for not only images, but also voice and video and things like that. And I'm very interested in seeing what this model will do. And as he said, it is built on the ground, from the ground up, to support things like plugins and integration with other apps, as well as memory. So it'd be very interesting to see if it's able to, move outside that context window of limitation, and being able to grab more sources and more information, and being able to build your own plugins to interact with the bot. So that's pretty cool. Now, the next part they're talking about is, the need to make AI safe and make people aware of AI, and make sure that they're not using it for malicious reasons. And so this is a quick, brief overview. Google did talk about this more, but I'm just going to play this section.
Invest in more advanced models, we are also deeply investing in AI responsibility. This includes having the tools to identify synthetically generated content whenever you encounter it. Two important approaches are watermarking and metadata. Watermarking embeds information directly into content in ways that are maintained even through modest image editing. Moving forward, we are building our models to include watermarking and other techniques from the start. If you look at the synthetic image, it's impressive how real it looks. So you can imagine how important this is going to be in the future. Metadata allows content creators to associate additional context with original files, giving you more information whenever you encounter an image. We'll ensure every one of our AI-generated images has that metadata. James will talk.
So yeah, basically they're gonna make images that they generate be able to be identified through a watermark, but it's not like a physical watermark when you see like getting images. It will just be some sort of mathematical watermark, so that even if you crop it or edit the image a little bit, it will still be present. You can still detect it. And the second thing is metadata. Basically, whenever they generate an image, they're going to tag it, say it's generated by AI. And of course, metadata can be removed, but the idea is hopefully people When it's presented in Google and when it's presented in reputable sources, there will be metadata. When it's not, when people remove that metadata, try to edit that image, hopefully the watermark will be a secondary defense. So basically that's AI safety. I think it's really nice that Google is taking a very proactive approach to this, not only just doing the metadata because that's the easy thing, but also including things like watermarking from the ground up. All right, the next thing we need to talk about is Bard. And if you remember, Bard is basically that response to OpenAI's ChatGPT, and it is now live in over 180 countries. And you can go to bard.google.com right now. It is no longer waitlisted, and you can just use it. And it's really cool. And it's come a long way since I first used it. I remember when I first used it, it was very shy on doing coding prompts. It was very shy on doing certain things. So I'm gonna definitely try to use it more and see if it's much better. But it's definitely been improving a lot. And some things they're also working on is improving Google Bard. For example, they're now gonna make it more image based so that you will see in the response, I can't make this full screen, but not only is there text, there's also images and you can interact with them. And that's really cool because that's something Microsoft, as I talked about in my last update video, Microsoft is working on including images and videos in the Bing chat results, because that's honestly something that's that will break up the flow and make it much more digestible if you can see something cool. And also Google Lens, basically it's able to identify things in images and you can talk to Bard about it. And that would be pretty cool. I wrote down a list of Bard updates from me watching that Bard section. Basically, it got much better in math, logic, and reasoning skills because of Palm 2. It's now able to code in 20 plus languages. There is a new export to Colab. They're working on export to Replit, and there's an export to Gmail and Docs. So this is sort of the able to share your result from Bard to other sources, and that's really good because instead of copying and pasting, now you can actually just send it over to different applications. They're also working on Bard plus tools, which is basically an iteration upon ChatGPT plugins. Basically different apps, like everybody loves using OpenTable and Wolfram Alpha as an example, but they're going to incorporate that into Bard and all the other amazing things, and you can probably build your own plugin in the future. Bard will be more visual as I showed, and integration with Lens, integration with maps. And what I mean by that is they gave an example, hey, make a list of colleges and then show this on a map, and it will literally plot the different addresses on a map, and that's really cool. Tables, basically saying, hey, give me the list of tables of these colleges, and you can make it add more things, like, hey, add a column if it's paid or private or public colleges. So it'd be very cool to use Bard to search in the future once these updates rolled out, because it's gonna not only be plugged have a lot of plugins, it's also going to be able to create tables and maps and things like that, and that would be very cool. And this is just a quick demo. I said, can you help me code a function that detects even and odd numbers? And as you can see, it now has the export response to Docs, Gmail, and Colab, and they're working with Replit to also do that. And in the future, you'll have a lot more options to export it to different places, so that you can get that response instead of copying and pasting. You know, sometimes you have to copy a lot of parts of it. It will just automatically move over to the applications. Now, the next big thing is Google Workspace, and this is similar to Microsoft's Copilot for Office. And basically, Google also iterated on this idea. So there's like this help me write function in Google Docs. So the example they gave was senior level job description for textile designer, and it was able to create a pretty convincing job description for a senior level job in textiles. So it's pretty cool that is able to work, and I do have access to this one, and I've been playing around it. It's kind of like ChatGPT in Google Docs. Google Sheets help me organize. So this example is client and pet roster for dog walking business with rates, and it will create that Google Sheet that has different columns, sample data, and you can just easily edit it. So basically, it'll help you create a spreadsheet, and I think it'll be able to do things like macros and things like that. A lot of people don't know how to use macros, and being able to calculate things in sheets, this will make it a lot easier, because you can probably get, you know, the total sum of all the money you made, or like the taxes, do tax calculation, tips, and things like that. So it'll be very, very interesting to try this out as well. There's Google Slides, help me visualize, and that's a image, text to image model, so it's able to generate a lot of images based on text. And I think the other amazing thing is Duet AI for Workspace, basically the Microsoft Copilot idea for Office. You can just talk with an AI model when you're writing, creating docs, slides, and things like that, and it will just, you know, you can get ideas from it, and you can insert things that it says directly into your documents. Now, the next big thing that they talked about is search, and I'm going to play this video for a look at what's next for AI in Google search.
I'ma make them talk like, whoa. Move fast, move slow. Catch me on a roll. Come say hello. 3, 2, 1, let's go.
Yes, yes, yes.
Come say hello. 3, 2, 1, let's go.
You got this. Let's go.
Is a hot dog a sandwich? And the answer is
Yes.
no.
Yes.
No.
Make 'em talk like whoa, 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 whoa. I'ma make 'em talk like.
I'ma make them talk like, whoa.
So yeah, that is the new Google search, and here's a quick summary about everything that's coming. From what I see, it's very similar to Bing Chat AI. Specifically, the top part is also going to be on top, giving you a summary of all of the results. And you can see there's a lot of information, including images and videos. And you can ask for a follow-up, kind of like Bing Chat AI, and it'll bring you to a chat interface, and it'll just sort of give you more information. And the more cool thing is there's search integration with things like shopping. Like you can see, like, suggest me, you know, clothes for the summer or shoes, and YouTube videos and things like that. And that's very similar to what I was talking about in my video about large language models. And I was saying back then that Google is not scared because it has the data, and it has things like Google Shopping, YouTube, and Google Images and things like that. And of course, Bing has a lot of these systems in place as well, but Google just has more data. And because of that, as soon as Google is able to launch it, they will launch something that is able to do all of these things. And as you can see, they did that today. And that is pretty cool to see, that it's basically Google level search, but added with AI. And I'm very interested in trying this out when I can. And but you can also see that data is becoming very, very, very profitable and important in this AI race, because that's honestly what is needed for these AIs. is not only data to train it, but also data to use it to be useful. And that's why in my privacy video, I was saying, hey, you know, maybe we should be a little bit more concerned about our privacy and our data, and not give it to everyone, because even though it creates a great experience, it also creates, you know, some power shifts. And I think obviously Microsoft got a head start, but we'll see if Google will continue to dominate the search space, which I think they will, just because they have more data. So yeah, that's my thoughts on Google search. And of course, how can you access all of these new cool things? There's a new thing called labswithgoogle.com, and maybe it's been here for a while, but there you can try all the latest Google experiments in labs. And there are a few things that are available right now: Google search, which I signed up for; Google Workspace, which I signed up for; Project Tailwind, which is pretty interesting. I also signed up for it. I don't know if I'll use it much, because this is mostly for studying and taking notes. And Music LM, which is using AI to turn your words into music. And guess what? I signed up for it and got access to it already. So I just want to show up for, really quickly what it is. It's something that I really wanted to make for a very long time and could not. And very interesting. It's using a Music LM. I think it stands for a language model. I don't know if it's some other thing, but very interesting. So let's just use a jazzy piece with a smooth saxophone solo. The sound is both sophisticated and playful with a slow tempo. And let's just generate it. Let me. There we go. I had to log in. And track 2. I think I like track 2 better, and this is what they're doing is you can help train the model produce better results by rating it. But yeah, you could see it was able to take a piece of text and generate music with it, and that's very interesting, very cool. And I'm definitely going to be playing around with it more, and I hope open source versions or versions I can run locally will come soon. But yeah, this is cool. You can definitely go check out Labs with Google, sign up for the search beta, sign up for the Workspace beta, and sign up for this beta if you're interested in. And hopefully you'll get access to them. And I will definitely be making videos on those when I get access to them, and just play around with it and see what features there are. So go ahead and try and sign up for that. One more thing that I want to talk about really quickly, and the video is getting a little bit long, is Project Starline. And I just want to scroll through the video. Basically, it's like Zoom, but 3D. And that's the best way to describe it. And basically, you're able to, apparently, according to the people that use it, it's basically like sitting across from the person. You can move around and they'll look 3D. And you can also let me see if I can find the example. Can't find it right now, but you can hold up objects and things like that, and you can sort of see the dimensions. So yeah, right now if you look at my image, you can see a 2-dimensional version of me, but it'll just be much more interactive and cool. And I think this is a pretty cool project. I don't know if it'll go many places because it probably costs a lot and it has to be dedicated hardware for that, but it's cool. So yeah, overall summary, these are the things that Google talked about today, and I couldn't cover everything because if I wanted to, it would be just as long as Google's keynote. And there are things like Bard, Workspace, Search, Cloud, developers, responsible AI, Android, and hardware. I didn't really go touch into Cloud and developers and Android, so I didn't touch those 3 sections. If you're interested, you can check out Google I/O's video, Google I/O 23 in under 10 minutes. You can also check out the full keynote as well. But yeah, that's basically That's basically my summary of Google I/O. I wanted to talk about some of the things that were most interesting to me, and hopefully you find this summary interesting as well. This video is definitely getting a little bit long, but there's just so much things to cover, so many things that they introduced, things in search, things in Bard, you know, new experiments that you can try out. So yeah, definitely go sign up for that, and I will be making more videos deep diving into these features once they release. And I hope you enjoyed this video, got a lot out of it. If you did, make sure to like this video, subscribe down below if you haven't already, and I will talk to you guys later. Bye bye.